Thank you at home for staying with us for the next hour. We do begin tonight with a dramatic and unexpected development in politics and in health reform. Former Republican House Majority Leader Dick Armey did resign today from the D.C. lobbying and legal services firm DLA Piper. We have talked about Dick Armey and DLA Piper a number of times on this show over the past few weeks, including last night after we obtained a DLA Piper internal memo concerning our coverage of them recently. Before today, Mr. Armey served as senior policy advisor for DLA Piper while he simultaneously headed up an organization called FreedomWorks. FreedomWorks, of course, has been actively campaigning against health care reform and helping organize the protesters who've disrupted town hall meetings and other discussions of health reform around the country. Now, as we reported last night, DLA Piper sent an internal memo to its employees claiming that Mr. Armey's work at FreedomWorks should not be associated with his work at the lobbying and law firm. The memo also said, quote, "The firm strongly opposes any activities designed to disrupt the national debate about health care reform. On the contrary, DLA Piper encourages responsible national debate." We reported last night on DLA Piper's statement, and then we invited further comment from them on how they square their firm's strong opposition to disrupting the debate on health reform with the fact that their senior policy advisor heads up an advocacy organization that claims credit for doing just that. Well, today, DLA Piper and Dick Armey announced that he would no longer be part of that firm. He has been employed there since he left Congress more than 6 years ago. And on the occasion of his resignation from DLA Piper, Mr. Armey released this statement, quote, "It is painful and frustrating to see a good, decent, able, and effective partnership of honorable men and women and their clients attacked for things in which they are not involved simply because of their association with me. One would expect a higher degree of competence and professionalism from members of the media than spurious attacks on innocent bystanders." Ahem. He goes on, "Let me be perfectly clear about DLA Piper. It's a fine firm with good, competent people. It has been my privilege to be associated with them, and I will miss them. I'm leaving the firm with regret, but also with anticipation of being more fully engaged in the nation's struggle and without having attacks on me being directed at others. The threat to personal liberty in America is so serious and imminent at this time that it requires the full commitment of my efforts. While I consider it a personal sacrifice to leave DLA Piper, it is a sacrifice I must make in light of the important work I am committed to at FreedomWorks." The dual employment of Dick Armey at both FreedomWorks and DLA Piper had led our show and others to question whether companies employing Dick Armey's law and lobbying firm also effectively were buying the services of what is purportedly a grassroots organization, FreedomWorks. For example, when life insurance interests paid for representation from DLA Piper, did that influence the decision by FreedomWorks to direct its membership to oppose life insurance regulations, or in fact to oppose health reform, some provisions of which are opposed by the life insurance industry? When Mr. Armey resigned from the firm today, the chairman of DLA Piper released his own statement saying, quote, "We are sorry to see Dick Armey leave, but," he said, quote, "we appreciate his taking the initiative to clear up confusion surrounding FreedomWorks." Now, our reporting is not the first time that confusion has been reported about whether or not FreedomWorks is actually a grassroots front, an ostensible grassroots front for corporate lobbying and PR. Why this time has it resulted in this dramatic resignation, we honestly do not yet know.